All right, folks, we're here finally at the finale episode of Halo, episode 9, Transcendence, the final episode of season 1 of Halo on Paramount
Yes,
Plus.
sir.
Hopefully by now, as I say in the beginning of each of these reviews, hopefully by now, you have completely bought in to the series. And for all the reserves you had, whether it was the whole thing with Quan Ha, who her arc was done 2 episodes ago, or this whole campaign of this ain't my Halo. I don't know what more you want after this point. Now, this episode sealed the deal. Like this gives you everything you wanted in this season. It gives you everything you want in terms of what they could be going into next season. And it definitely I feel truly respected the lore of amongst all things in this episode. And something that everybody was a little bit reserved about in the beginning of the season, I think we have a little bit of indication about how you kind of render that going forward. I'm not sure how you kind of play it in terms of contractual things, but we'll talk about it a little bit. But crazy episode, a lot of good action, and overall a solid first season. We're going to do a season recap, but we're going to just only focus on this season instead of reflection of the entire season, and story arcs and whatnot. With the things we like, things we didn't like, things that they could have did a lot more on, favorite characters, all that other good stuff. So anyway, let's get into it. Episode 9. So now we know McKee has the artifact and she's gone. She done got to the hangar. She gets the Covenant ship. Time to deliver it. She is the blessed one, and she has to fulfill her prophecy, or more or less her duties at this point, and that's to get that back. But the interesting thing about that is that, now we realize that the war is being taken back home, and it's a lot of Terrell been very adamant about it, and a lot of you all also as well in the comments and whatnot have been saying we want more Covenant. We want to learn more about them. And I thought at this very early point of this episode, I said, "Oh, we're going to the planet. We're going to see some things." And not only did I think we were going to understand maybe potentially more about the hierarchy and so on, I think that I was just overly thrilled about the possibilities of the visuals of what we were going to get, and that itself was a spectacle. But we'll talk about it. But this is now where we still going back to John after he got in that big shindig with Vanek and Riz last episode, that they said, "Listen, Halsey said we bring you in dead or alive, so what you gonna do?" And then John cuts it clean and said, "We were kidnapped, we were brainwashed, we were tortured as kids. Don't believe anything she's saying. It's all cap." And of course, Vanek is basically like, "Nah, I'm not believing that." But luckily, John had a lifeline in because Captain Jacobs came in and said, "Nah, it's all a lie. it's all a lie. If you want to point that gun, point it at me." I thought, and I throw it to you in a second, I thought that there was a big moment of self-reflection for Captain Jacob in this. He found himself kind of as a bystander at time, maybe at a point where he kind of lost his voice in terms of right and wrong. He's leading the military and whatnot, and so that's a noble job of his, but the things that were personal to him, and I think after everything that he kind of said to Halsey last episode about, well, how much are you willing to sacrifice? I was kind of like a mirror reflection that he was kind of having with himself, where he was like, well, how much are you willing to sacrifice? You haven't been honest about a lot of things too. You just been letting things kind of go. And I thought him stepping up for the Spartan kids, having that moment where again he's kind of torn between his daughter and his girl, his wife. But at the same time, I think he put in perspective that his daughter ain't a little girl no more. She stepped up. I think he felt that. I think he looked at that situation and he was like, you know what? She's not a little girl no more. I don't have to, kind of nurture her in the way she is no more. She's the next one up. And I think he looked at his wife and was like, I think she's completely gone. We all know, and it's been said in this episode, it's been said in last episode, She don't care nothing about no humanity. She don't care nothing about no family and no people. She's way beyond that. And I think that he realized, like, divorce papers serve him up because, like, and the irony of it as well too, because it's just like it's just not going to work. It's not. We're on way two different paths right now, and he's trying to fix himself, and she is completely destined for her ultimate goal, and that ultimate goal is to truly discover humanity's true potential, even if it means sacrificing all of humanity. So throwing it to you, just what's your assessment just of, I almost want to say, how this episode kind of lured us in with this very soft, welcoming, almost warming feel before all the chaos?
I mean, the episode was everything I knew it was going to be, and I knew that they were kind of slowing down the pace like the last two to really build it up for this finale. And just seeing kind of all the characters in place for it to end like this. And of course, like I said, Maki getting up out of there. Conveniently, there was a Covenant ship in the hangar for her to just jump out. I thought it was weird. Dealing with that whole sibling rivalry with super soldiers, and like I said, just having Captain Keyes just happen to be there to reaffirm what John was saying, and I thought that was weird too, because I'm like, Riz and Vatic still have the chips in, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
yeah. So I'm like, all right, so whatever's said, it doesn't matter because they don't have the emotional, like the process that, you know what I mean? So I thought that I for sure thought everybody in that room was getting shot. I thought that was going to be a OK Corral situation. Everybody's it's about to be a shootout. I for sure thought Keyes was going to get killed right there. Oh yeah, he's telling the truth, Pop. I thought it was going to be one of those situations, but no, man, it was good. Like I said, the complaint was, like I said, the lack of Covenant. This more than makes up for the 8 episodes that we haven't seen of Covenant by giving you more than what you thought you were gonna get. But like this ties up a lot. You know what I mean? Like I said, without going into like the whole episode, like it ties up a lot. That like you said, this is a solid first season for all you haters out there. And shout out the Chief for losing his virginity. 2 episodes.
yeah, I thought the same thing. I started to consider hierarchy because Halsey definitely last episode was like, she's the say or be all in terms of order. Like if I'm saying things, I'm the highest authority, you're gonna listen to it. So when Captain Jacob Keyes comes in, I'm just like, oh well, this doesn't mean anything. But that's what I mean, like how they kind of soften you over, because you're just like, oh wow, they do have a soft spot. I know folks are going to probably have a problem with that. I no longer have an issue with just waiting in terms of letting things develop, because as I said, there's something big in this episode that I'm gonna talk about that, with a little patience, we kind of see how that kind of plays about. And it's interesting of how they're telling stories and providing a lot of meat around the bones, and then it just makes sense. Like, yes, there will be flaws, there will be moments of inconsistency and whatnot, or things for, shall I say, cinematic stakes, to kind of heighten these moments and whatnot. And I think, while we look at this as like, well, the Spartans should not have disobeyed the command, but he's also a captain. So and he's also technically, he's almost like dad, you know what I mean? So like if he comes in, he is also a strong sense of authority, and we know Halsey was this way out of line. So the conflict that they may have been having in terms of protocol, it makes sense, because who do you trust? You got your captain telling you one thing, you got your master chief telling you one thing, and then obviously, you don't have a mind of your own. So you're just kind of just sitting there like, well, all right, I guess, yeah, I'll go with them. You know what I mean? And Kai also played a huge influence in everything that happened in this episode.
I was thinking about what you said too, and just kind of the decisions that were made, and just the conversation at the beginning of this episode was like, yo, at the end of the day, we still at war. You know what I mean? This is war. What Keyes did, what Miranda did, they were doing to win this war. Yeah, it was inhumane, and everybody wants to have the moral high ground at the end of the day, and make somebody accountable when you get caught. You know what I mean? But like, it's still a war, and that's the same thing that John says. Like, yo, fuck everything that happened. We gotta go get that. We gotta go get that keystone, and we done.
Yeah, we lose the artifact, we lose the war, and they're the last man's up or last crew up. Silver Team is the last bit of hope that they have, and that I think that clicked in. I think that's a very almost a militant command or almost militant line of morale, where it's just like, yeah, this is our job. So what else are we going to do?
That military mindset,
yeah. But I love me some Kai. I've been a fan of Kai for about 3, 4, 5 episodes about now. It took me a little bit of while. I mean, obviously because of the filler episodes, but it did take me a while to kind of get in on Team Kai fully, and I'm Team 9 Lives Kai, because I'm trying to tell you, I'm gonna say it a little bit later. I'm at the edge of my seat every single time she does anything, because I'm like, oh, she's a goner, and she does some things. But listen, when she said, hey, y'all 3 go, I want Halsey, I said, okay, yeah, showtime. And I was loving every moment of it. Kai turned the fuck up. She literally went through there. I mean, she had the accelerated speed. The visuals with that was dope. She landed on the ship. She had the superhero landing. She got Aiden the fuck out of there. She said bye-bye. Toss his little ass. I was so happy. And we see Halsey makes an escape in an escape pod. But then, you know, this is where everybody is in true concern, because this ship is going down. It's completely compromised. There's nothing they can do. I mean, this thing did get hit by EMP like a couple of times, so I wasn't expecting the electronics to be working anyway, but there's that. But like, it's like 1, 2, 5. Are you good? You good? I thought it was so cool. I really, as much as this episode did a lot of cool things, I really Master Chief is the man, because I love the fact that when the ship went down, and for us, we're thinking like, she's definitely a goner. She's a goner for a lot of reasons. How many times does a person gets these lucky saves on show? No one. Yeah, right. And don't shake your head, no, because you thought Swarm was going to die so many times.
I only say no because she was wearing her armor. But and we've seen before where like Chief was in an explosion, he was perfectly fine. That's the only reason I was like, she's good. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
had the armor been compromised, you know what I mean? I'd be like, all right.
So my logic with that's a little bit different. Like, yeah, she had her armor, and like, so if she survives, it makes sense. But I'm also thinking like, yo, you just never know. They can just throw anything in there. I mean, we didn't actually see the ship go down, so we don't know what else it could have happened and whatnot. But I'm thinking to myself, like, there's no way she survives again. I mean, she's already taken a brutal attack. She already done so many different things as happened to her. So I'm like, she's definitely done this time. But I love the fact that like Chief, Vanek, and Riz was just all sitting like, nah, that's our girl. She coming through. And so when she put her hand up on the shelf and stood up, I jumped out of my seat. I was like, dog, that is dope. Like, it's one of the best sequences in the show right now. That has nothing to do with like the video game continuity. You know what I mean? With the first person shooter and whatnot, like the true action Halo video game styling of cinematography for just an action show. Like, I think that's one of the best sequences. Like, it was just overly the top though. I mean, even when she landed on the ship and that aerial shot of her kind of standing up and they're like looking at her sideways, it's a dope shot. It gave so much poise to who she was, unchipped at that, and she held her own. Like, to the argument of saying like, oh, with the chip you're more control, you're more of a battle warrior or soldier. You can make that argument that, well, she just literally took down the ship by herself and completed the mission. I mean, ultimately, Halsey got escaped and, you know, pod, but also got captured again. But she did what she was supposed to do.
Right.
You had a whole line of Marines down there that was like, oh, I guess it's gone. What are we going to do? And she kicked in that accelerated speed and got up out of there. So, but they couldn't get the Covenant ship. But, you know, 1 out of 2 is not that bad at the point. But it's super dope. And guess what, folks? We've already been talking for 15 minutes, and this is all that happened before the title screen.
Yeah, it was wild for that the intro came.
Yeah, a lot of things happening here. So going into like the more of the command side of things in UNSC, everybody wants to know, McKee, where's she going? Can we trust her? No, we can't trust her. She betrayed us. But John, I can trust her. We had a connection.
For a bit.
John simped. He simped a little bit, but we're gonna let that slide. We're gonna let that slide. But he said, "Nah, we have a connection. I can feel it." She was honest with me at times, and we did it. And Cortana comes in like, "Yeah, I felt it too. Weird, but okay, we'll let it go."
I was there watching.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, creeping Tom. You know what I mean? Like creeping, peeping Tom. Yeah, this is now where they said, "Listen, like." She has the ship. She's going back. So we need to, suit up for war. I'm going to get 10,000 Marines and send them that way. And John says, well, that's 10,000 dead.
don't waste the bodies.
yeah. Like, what we doing out here? Now, I know you love this scene and the dialogue in this because you've been talking about this a lot. So I'm going to give it to you. Just as when John then volunteers, says the silver team will take care of it. The significance of this is you've been saying, well, when are we going to start talking about the other Spartans?
Right.
And the fact that now he designate in a team name. And I mean, little we know it or not, but silver ain't gold or platinum or anything. So you start to think like, oh, there must be more elite squad. Whatever you know about the game, whatever you know about the military, whatever you just know about any property that you touch, if you're in silver, you're somewhere in the middle somewhere. Right. So the fact that you introduce this team to go into Covenant airspace, someplace that they have not gone, a team of 5 Cortana, to go in there and do so, and they was able to execute, it starts to make you think. Much like you said, we didn't know much more about the Covenant, but we also didn't know more about the Spartan program and the other bases and whatnot. Right. So I just want to kind of know, what was your mind kind of like gearing up when you started to hear the strategy at plan, and so on?
Oh, I was thinking to myself, like, man, this is about to be a Suicide Squad run. This sounds crazy, like, you know what I mean? Like, they in their mind, they're like, okay, we're in and out, we're gonna do a sneak mission and get up out of there. And and like I said, I've been talking about how obviously there's other Spartan teams. They're all numbered. It's a bunch of them out there somewhere. They don't really go into detail during the course of the show as to where they are, when they are. They talk about it, but they don't really show anything outside of the 4, which is Master Chief, Riz, Kai, and Rennick. And what's name if you count them?
Sword.
Sword, yeah. But yeah, man, I thought that was really, it definitely, like you said, it definitely confirmed a lot in my head that I was thinking about the teams, and just kind of like the plan was just like, all right, I must have missed the part where did they confirm that they knew where Maki was, like, because I feel like
yeah. I mean, they made the assumption. I mean, they made a very educated guess about, let's just say, like the space system and whatnot.
Right.
And like, oh, this place looks, it's like, oh, this place looks kind of, the clues of things she was saying about the place where she came from and how they was looking at the map and whatnot. And it was like, oh, well, this place, you don't really know it until you go there. And then when you go there, that's when you see the planet, but you can't pick it up because it looks like nothing's there. Like it's just nothing but particles. So like, yeah, they explained why it was a thing, but they didn't notice until McKee told them from when they were having sexual pillow talk.
He opened up about
cheeks. Right. Master Cheeks out here, yeah,
Hope she wasn't pregnant. But no, like I said, that really was a good, really good part for me. And like I said, like when I heard that, I was really pumped. I was like, man, I can't wait to see what happens next. Silver Team about to go ahead and throw hands. So yeah. I was ready.
Yeah, I'm gonna swing through, kind of swift through a couple of these other things. So yeah, the fugitive Halsey gets captured, and we talked a little bit about it earlier, but she's taken back in. The blessed one then now takes the artifacts back, and now it's time to start the great journey where everybody transcends into gods. And she wants to know, can I go? It's a lot of weird dynamic going on there about like, yes, of course. Go, but a lot of extra commentary around that. So like, it was a little bit of hesitation, it seemed, maybe I don't know, but
it kind of came off like it's like, oh, you served your purpose, like you've already soiled, our kind being around us. Like she was just a means to an end. Like they always had like a purpose to kind of portray her once she led them to where they needed to be.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
yeah.
See how that goes.
So also Cortana dropped some tidbits about like, listen, I was gonna take over your whole body, by the way, but Halsey needed you to activate the halo. You need to find it and activate it. Only you can do that. And this wasn't a possession, just in case anybody's wondering. This is actually a complete Nero takeover. So it tells you that it's not the physical form of Master Chief that activates the halo, it's the spirit and within. That's the connection. That's like the connection that he's also having with McKee. So it's not also just like the physical of like body and body. It's like what's actually within them that makes them special. Right. So Cortana taking over doesn't say like, oh well, she can just take over and then it's all good. Like no, and I mean I think they explained that. Hopefully everybody understood that, but like that's what her conversation about that earlier, bringing that up again, reiterating what the plan was, just so I think for context and you understanding that. For me, it's like something's going to happen later with this, but like it explains why it had to be done the way it had to be done for the folks that's looking for plot hole gaps and whatnot. And again, Halsey making it clear, humanity, what's that? I ain't worried about that shit. And that's where, and Miranda says goodbye to her mother. And like I said, Captain Keyes is this. He's kind of stuck in the middle, but I think he's also, I'm not gonna say proud of his baby girl, but he realized like again, she's a woman now. She's not such his baby girl, and they're gonna be good as a unit. Everybody looked at Halsey as like she was like the savior, like and you give her a lot of praise as well too in terms of their position in the war. Right. But I think that there is a supreme amount of confidence that Miranda will be not only okay, but better, because she will have the best of both of them, the best of Captain Keyes and the best of her, and the humanity side of it as well too. Right. She's not going to, like, I don't want to get too deep into this, but like she's like breaking like the generational trauma within the family. Like they were really bad parents. Like they were kidnapping kids, lying to numerous kids, and you see the effects of what they did to these 4 Spartan kids. So like she comes in and she gets their knowledge, she gets their knowledge, wisdom, and all these sorts of things at a younger age, and then add the humanity to it. She's going to be the better of the two of them, and I think that's kind of the moment where he takes the thing off his hand and he looks like it is. That's what it is. My wife is gone, but my daughter's up, so let's get it. You know what I mean?
I thought that was pretty cool how they finally had her come out and say the word mother, acknowledge that for once, like that's her mother. That we knew, but like they've never said it. Like they never say hey mom, hey daughter, or anything like that. And like this episode they say it more than once, like it's your mom, that's your daughter, you know what I mean? Like, so definitely this was supposed to have been like a big goodbye to Halsey, as her as she knew it then and there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, big facts. So now the whole the whole trip and their travel to this planet, the visuals with it, going through this little light beam or whatever you want to call it, was dope. The warping, I love that term that that Cortana used. I think she said it was spaghettified. I'm sure I used that somewhere. And I'm pretty sure I used that somewhere, somehow, some way one day, and I never thought it was a word. But hey, Cortana says it, then it's valid. You know what I mean? But it made perfect sense. Like, and I think Vanek was basically like, "What does that mean?" And I was like, "I know what it means because I know exactly what she's trying to describe." But I think the visuals with that as well too, the warping, sort of kind of mind bending and trippy, not only for them but for the viewers as well. You kind of feeling a little bit distorted yourself. Hopefully you don't have what do you call I can't think of the name of it. Folks who have problems with like looking at tall heights and whatnot. God, I can't think of the name of it. It is slipping my head. It's gonna come to me in a second. But anybody who has any type of like visual and impairment and whatnot, I can see how like that scene probably was really trippy for you with all the lights and whatnot. Like it, but it was cool. I appreciate what they were trying to do because it tells you the extent of the travel, why nobody's been there, and only the certain type of people that can do it. This again is establishing that these Spartans are no joke. So you're thinking a 4v, let's see, 200 plus these level bosses. They watched about a good 300 to 350 people of all different statues. So let's just call it what it is. Like they're no joke. You know what I mean? Right. Vertigo is what I was thinking. See, I knew it was gonna come back. Yeah, Vertigo. And I could imagine like that was a hard scene for him. But anyway, speaking of Vertigo, when they dropped off the ship, that drop scene was so dope, bro. So dope. And I just was thinking to myself, like, yeah, it is show time, baby. I couldn't wait. I thought the drop scene was dope. The visuals are dope. The one-liners that was hit, you know, that they were saying, Kai talking about no one's gonna remember you. I was like, okay, okay, cool. Baby girl, go get him. And he was like, needed me one of these, Bandit picking up the joint. I mean, everything was good. The production, the CG, everything was dope, man. I would have been cool right there. If they were just like, all right, that's the end of the season, I'm like, you know what? At least I know where we're picking up next season, right in the shits. You know what I mean? So it was really dope. But before we talk about the big final fight, I think that this is another moment of you truly feeling like you're a true Halo enthusiast, knowing a little something. So when they started, how good she is, how aware she is, Miranda and her mother going into a seizure, I let you have it.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been paying attention the entire season and listening to the clues, you've seen this coming a mile away. You know what I mean? And I said this early on, like I seen that, like, oh yeah, she got one in the tank. You know what I mean? So we find out, like, you know, Miranda's like the medical people explain, like, hey, you know, she's been having nosebleed, had a seizure. And Miranda brain just clicks, like, yo, that ain't my mother, man. Like, that ain't her. And she's telling them to stop what you're doing. It don't matter, because she knows she's gonna die anyway. Confirming that was a clone. That was a Flash clone that she used to get the hell up out of there. So you know, she's like Dr. Doom with Doom bots out here. Who knows how many Miranda clones she got, just Halsey clones she just got sitting around.
Yeah,
but I thought it was pretty cool, man. Like, and I cannot think of her name. The woman that was trying to get her shut down.
Margaret.
Yes,
Admiral Margaret.
Yeah, as soon as she said that, she says it's not my mom. You could tell on her face too that she knew that was also a clone too. You know what I mean? And of course they're gonna check it and make sure. Yeah. But my question is, like, now that she's done that, what comes next? Like, you know, because she doesn't have the military resource anymore. So what can she do? What's her plan after this?
Listen, she's not doing bad. She has a whole land or planet or whatever of folks who are team her. So she's not doing bad.
Except that one guy that got his lights knocked out on the ship.
Oh, Alden, yeah, good for him. Yeah, I'm good riddance. I'm happy he's gone. Rather there's some, I mean, but again, like, he's gone, but there is clearly a backup version of him, not actually him, but somebody who just fills the same shoes, you know. Right. And we see that the person that she's talking to in the plane was just like, hey, you know, we got to go here and whatnot. You know, it's the same position. So, and hell, do you think she cares about him? Ain't he a human? Everyone can get sacrificed for the better good. Yeah, there's no way she's going for him, but not her own daughter. Like,
right. I think he played his part for sure. And some would say he was a little too anxious about it. He was a little too involved.
Obsessed.
And it felt like, to me, like, I don't want to say in my head that I knew he was going to die, but he was doing a little too much. You know what I mean? So his time was coming. I think it was going to be like that. I didn't think it was going to be the Kai that killed him. So I felt like, you know, she would have felt some type of way about that. You know, just killing somebody.
Please, heck no. No. Heck no. Listen, at this point now, it's a vendetta. You have to think about all the hurt that Halsey had done to her before, current and before, and alive. Somebody had to get it. And lucky she didn't get Halsey, because who knows what would happen then. But yeah, all that, I'm not gonna say I thought he was gonna die, but I sure was like, well, if he does, I won't be mad. So there's
it's whatever.
Anyway, when they get on the ground, the Halo theme drops, and I just knew it was a wrap. It was go time, and it was good to hear. And you know, when we start to get into some of the fights, you know, getting into first person camera mode was dope. Master Chief running into his old friend, one of the Covenant big baddies. And you know, he knew how to handle this, but Riz didn't, got washed early. But at the same time, too, a lot of fight ones happened, and Master Chief started to take another L. Much funny because you know, when Cortana was like, "Well, you're gonna take my bite," when Master Chief's like, "Well, you're gonna take my bite now," she's like, "Nah, I'll wait for the more healed up one." So I thought that was important too, in terms of the dialogue of saying, like, if he's supposed to be the man, how come he's still getting watched? Well, he's never really still been fully healed, you know what I mean? And he still was super proficient. So again, you gotta put some respect on on the Spartans, on what they can do and whatnot. But the other interesting thing was there was still a lot of like, oh, that's my ex-boo type of thing going on here. You know, Chief looking at McKee looking at him, and when he was definitely down to his almost his final moment, you know, she touches the artifact and she saves him, and it washes half of the, you know, the Covenant folks off the mountain and whatnot. But it then brings them back to their little safe place on the Halo ring, and it's not real, as Master Chief said, but he's deactivated, unresponsive in real life, but that's their place where they can, their special place where they can connect. And I think to kind of look at McKee's point of view here, like, you know, she's been through a lot, and I think she's like, this is my purpose. I think she's a little bit aware too that, like, she's done her job with the Covenant. They're going to dispose of her sometime. So she's stuck between can't go back, can't go forward. Where do I go? Maybe I can stay here. And I think, you know, again, looking at where she came from, and a little girl who was abused, then was kidnapped, then was used and found purpose and whatnot, and so on. It's a tough cookie to swallow, but, like, you know, she tried to do what's best for her. I actually like the character, and I'm a little disappointed we didn't get just a little bit more. And
I mean, it's not who's to say. I mean, she's officially done. You know what I mean? So we don't know.
Yeah, let me know something, because that's what I'm hoping for. But I think, you know, just really quickly going forward, I mean, now we really do go forward with the Covenant versus the UNSC. All the Usher stuff is gone, it seems like now.
Now it becomes a race to the ring first.
Yeah. Oh, because they got the map. Yeah, because everybody's seen this supposed to coordinates right now. Yeah, because Venture's gone, then McKee's gone, and then Soren is kind of off the map right now. Quan Ha's kind of off the map. So now you're just kind of focusing on UNSC versus the Covenant. And that's what people would say, like, well, that's my Halo. And that may be potentially where they go next. You know, keep it just really heavily based on the lore, you know, and not add in fluff for the sake of the series. But who knows? But I think that, you know, again, you know, them being together, you know, she doesn't want to leave Chief. She wants her to stay, but he says it isn't real. And then he tells her she has to let go, and he looks at her, and there's a big red blood spot, and everybody and their mother, including Stevie Wonder, knew exactly what happened here. And little did we know it was Kai that killed her. I'm going to throw it to you, but I think Chief was hurt for a second with this.
Yeah.
Torn. But I don't think it matters. But I was a little torn myself, because I wanted McKee to stay longer, but I love me some Kai. I think Kai did the right thing, because you really don't know the potential what would have happened if you would have just, and you really don't know what side she was on. You know what I mean? So formality for the better sake of saving everybody and humanity. Yeah, sure. One must die for millions to stay alive. So it is what it is. But that is that. Giving it to you now.
I thought, like you said, that moment was interesting, just because, like, they, once this confirmed that, like, you know, to break that link that she's been shot and it was by Kai, like you said, like, yeah, he was definitely hurt. He was upset, and he knew, like, okay, but instantly, like, right after that, he went in the mission mode and was like, okay, this is what we got to do. We got, like, seconds to do it. And, you know, of course, like, he was like, you know, seeing everybody go down, everybody hurt real bad, you know what I mean? what's name took a whole plasma to the chest. It's like,
Yeah, Riz. Yeah,
like,
she got
yo,
it bad.
I was
That
like,
was,
yo,
yeah, plasminade. I was like, oh boy. Also, the
done.
aesthetics of that was really dope too. But yeah, done.
Yeah, it was really cool, man. Just that whole seeing people blow up and disperse from the needle and everything else. But just having the chief make that decision, like, yo, he can't touch that because, like you said, like it has something to do with like their brainwaves or something like that that is activating.
I want to say go as far as saying like the neural connection
Right.
to it. You know what I mean? And
Like, yeah, whatever that is that's turning this thing on, he knew the only way for him to get it up out of there and save them was to have Cortana take over. And they're not really clear, or they are clear about it, and I misunderstood it, but like he has to be unconscious or he has to physically die. I'm not sure. I mean,
yeah.
clearly we know he doesn't die, but you know what I mean? And I wonder, just going forward in the show, are we just going to see nothing but my man Master Chief with the mask on going forward?
You just skip like so many things real quick. So to kind of piggyback off of that a little bit, I think, not to die. He just has to be like nearly disconnected from the body so she can step in and take in full control. Because when she disables him, that's what she's doing. It's a neuro shutdown so that she can come in. So it's one of those type of things. If she can sort of manually do it, then it's the whole idea. Can she reprogram the body or the brain in order for it to work? So that's kind of the predicament she's in. It's like, can I do that if I'm removed from the body? How does that kind of work and whatnot? The biggest predicament is like he can't save everybody and save the artifact. This is the biggest conflict for him because this also goes back into him making the decision to save Kai earlier or saving the artifact. The decision he made because of the palette being removed. So now we're starting to see him come back around to the same predicament of saying, can you complete the mission and also save your friends? Part of what you're supposed to do as a Spartan, part of what you want to do as a brother in John. And he says he makes the ultimate sacrifice essentially and say Cortana take over, and thus, you find a Halo and win the war. That's the mission here. And Cortana steps in and says the most bullshit ever. When the game is over, the king and pawn goes into the same box. It's dope. But Cortana, aka Game Shark, steps in OP and washes anything and everything left. Doesn't even look at McKee, first off, just in case anybody thought like, oh, get her body. Hell nah. Get this artifact, get everybody on this joint, and we up out of here. The thing about this that you brought up, though, is the folks saying like, oh, Master Chief taking off the helmet, I hate it, blah, 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 blah. I think now, much like I've been hinting all this entire review, is that like now with her taking control, we see the Master Chief we have always been accustomed to. Helmet on, little to no words at all, Cortana in control. Whether that's been articulated in the game or not, if you know it or not, it's just showing you that like that's probably how it got to this point. Cortana being in control means that human side of him, that hero neurological side of him doesn't exist. It's Cortana that makes him, and like think about this now. If he was better than them in control and now Cortana's in control, it opens that gap now about just why he was always just that much more special to it. Kai has an issue because Kai can understand that, the other two won't, because in their eyes it'll just be Master Chief just being back in regular form,
right?
Straight militant.
I don't think like in the games like it's 100% like how they show it here, like an integrated thing, like she's taking over. Like John still is.
I don't never recall that.
Yeah, this is definitely something new that I've seen. And think about the part just scenes back where Margaret says to John, like, look, you ain't John no more. When you out in that field, you 100% Master Chief. Like there is no more John. You know what I mean? And then we get into this mode and this mindset that he is in now when he gets up out there. Like, so like I said, I was wondering if that's setting the tone for things to come going forward. But because this is a TV show, because this is an actor who's well known and wants to show his face, this is not going to be the end of taking off the mask.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing I'm getting at too. So two things, right? Yeah, while we understand that Cortana's in control and she doesn't know how to dial it back, I
Right.
think that's part of the arc going in the next season of trying to integrate both Neros under one, body.
Right.
And then the other thing is that, well, contractually, I mean, sure, you want Pablo there, but if you didn't have Pablo there, I mean, you save a lot of money, one, and I don't think anybody's going to be necessarily mad, like, oh my God, we don't got Pablo face no more. And I also think that Pablo still gets a jet because he still have to probably do scenes that doesn't involve current time, and it still kind of works. So does he still exist in the likeliness? Sure. But you cater to two audiences now. You cater towards the hardcore lore and the fans that came on with the series, where you just have them kind of separate and it kind of works. You know what I mean?
The best
it's an interesting thing.
The best thing you could do is do what they've been doing. Do your own thing. Do not fall prey to what people. I mean, cool. Give people like the fan service from the game, stuff like that. But the moment you start to tell a predictable story, people complain that this is exactly like this. This is boring. This whatever, because you're giving them the same thing they already know what's coming. That's the best thing about this show is you don't know how it's going to play out. Yeah, you
exactly.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that, but this is still all new. You know what I mean? To anybody that's just played those games.
Yeah, and also there's almost really minimum to no series that does one-for-ones.
Right.
Everything always takes its own production route, television, movie production route, to tell a different story, to tell more of a story, or to kind of make a few turns. All the Walking Dead hardcore comic book fans, example after example on that. They're going to kind of do things a little bit unique for the sake of show. So, but I will add this last thing, and then we're going to wrap it up. Kai, looking at the artifact, I don't know if you peeped that. It starts to make me wonder, does she build a connection with it? Why might I ask? Well, it seems to have something to do with folks recognizing the common denominator between John and McKee is the childhood abuse right now. That's where I started at. And there were signs of their uniqueness when they was younger, but we haven't really seen Kai's background. Kai doesn't even know her real name. Who am I? She's starting to question her past just like John did. She looking at that keystone was a something. It was clearly a something. And I don't know how that plays out. And I also think that she was super fascinated about John, holding the keystone and bringing it to the ship. I think she's going to start trying to try her hands again, considering that she learns more about herself. I think those archive records that they couldn't find, I think maybe they pop up. I think there's going to be more to Kai than we can imagine right now. And I think that was just the glimpse of where things are going to go. Her knowing more about her backstory, her real name, who is she, where she come from, her connection to potentially the Keystone, and her being the only unpalatted Spartan currently active in her own body and mind right now.
I like the nickname. What'd you say? Nine Lives Kai.
Yeah, Nine Lives Kai. Yeah, she out here. And Game Shark Katana. They look. Folks are out here.
She done got jumped by the Covenant, like 2-3 times. She done got blown up. She done.
Yeah, she had some moments, but she got to send out some L's, man. She needs some dubs under her belt because she didn't get it bad like Riz, but she definitely need to redeem herself a little bit right now.
They done knocked her out. They didn't in the back.
Yeah. Anyway, last thing, Halsey, Truven, her whole goal is to achieve transcendence and discover the true potential as she makes her way to the space tether. What's next for her?
Cult.
Yeah, that maybe. No, it's hard to tell with her, man. It's like I don't believe in her tactics, but she do be onto some things. But we kind of see how that plays, and we know that Miranda's going to be looking for her because before her clone mom died, she said, "Where is she?" So they don't know, and it's going to be time to see where that goes beyond that. Anyway, I'm going to start rambling because, as I said, we are going to do a season review, the entire season. So look out for that. Keeping it in, we're going to end it on that note for episode 9 of Halo. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Jump in the comments, let us know your thoughts about this episode. But we will again be diving deep into the entire season, kind of bouncing around all over the place about the things we liked about the season, predictions and other stuff going forward. So look out for that.
Yes,
But until then, folks, thank you for tuning in for all of our weekly reviews of Halo. We catch you back with more weekly reviews of Halo once season 2 gets announced. Well, it has been announced, but when it gets announced, when it's going to be, we'll be back for it then. So thank you for tuning in. We'll see you later, folks.
Yes.
Big gold bell.